Okay, so we're gonna do a three-part series now. Welcome to the Bigger Flips show. I'm Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping houses, or if you're already doing it, how to do it bigger. And I'm going to tell you how the business is broke down. So there's three parts of the business in my opinion, right? You can break it down into 100 pieces. There are people who break it down into two parts: buying properties and selling properties. I say there are three parts. The first is lead generation and lead management, getting leads and managing those leads, following up with them. The second part is sales conversion, so converting those leads into contracts. And the third is disposition, which means making some money off the deal, either by wholesaling the property, wholetailing the property, um, rehabbing the property, if you're going to do innovation, whatever it is. So I want to talk more about these. So the first one we're going to talk about is lead generation and lead management. I consider that one whole area, right? There are people who break it down into smaller pieces, but that's getting leads. So getting people who are interested in selling their house to raise their hand and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. And then managing those leads, which means following up with them over time so that they will eventually turn into the second part, which is sales conversion. And sales conversion we're going to do the next day. But lead conversion, there's a million different ways to do it, and it's really dependent on where you are. So I have coaching students in other parts of the country, and they come to me and they say, how do I get leads? And the way I tell them to get leads is dramatically different from people doing it in New York, right? If you can call a county clerk somewhere and say, hey, give me a list of all your tax delinquent properties, give me a list of all your code violations, go, and then I can go to another area and get vacant properties. That's great, right? Those are good leads. But there are parts of the country where you can't. So lead generation and lead management is very location dependent. Now, also with lead management, you really are going to need a CRM. So I tell people when they're starting, they don't need a CRM. CRM is a client relation. What the heck does it stand for? I forgot. I'm drawing a blank on it. But it's a system where you have people in it that are looking, clients in it, client relation management. And I use RE Simply, but you don't need that when you start. But once you get to about 100 leads, you need really something that'll help you manage those leads so you can search with them quickly and you can do things in it. So, for example, RE Simply I use for 100 different things, but I use it. And one of the things you want in your CRM is so that it does automated follow-up for you, so that it follow-ups with text, email, reminds you to call them, whatever you got to do. RVM you can do also. So it's ringless voicemail. So that's lead management and lead generation, lead management. There are people that outsource that whole thing. I've never had any luck outsourcing it, but that is the first part of the business. It's one of the harder parts of the business. It seems simple, but it's not so hard. But it's not so simple. And it really depends on where you are. There are people I know that say, I'm inundated with leads. I've never had that situation in New York, ever, or in El Paso, Texas. Maybe one day I'll find an area where there's just so many leads that I don't know what to do with them. I've never gotten to that point. I hope to get to that point somewhere, but the keys there are really, where are you doing it, and then what do you do to look for it? And there's a lot of ways to get leads, right? There's outbound leads, so you can call, you can text. There are inbound leads, so you can use PPC, that's pay per click or pay per lead, or SEO, which is people coming to your website. And then there's hybrid, so direct mail is sort of a hybrid because you're mailing out a postcard, but it's not really a lead until they call you back. And there's a lot of different ways to get leads, tons of ways. There's different ways to get leads, and people will tell you this works or it doesn't work, and really it just means it didn't work for them or it works for them. Doesn't mean it will work or won't work for you. When people start, I tell them that the cheapest way is to buy a list, skip trace the list, which means get the phone numbers and just call. Right? Calling is inexpensive and it's good because allows you to have conversations. And the more conversations you have with sellers, the better you're going to be when you talk to sellers. And it's okay if you stink when you started. I stunk when I started. So that's the easiest, simplest way. I think you can do that for under $1,500. None of that money goes to me. That's just to pay for a list and to skip trace the list. And that could last you a year. So it's not expensive. If you want to be more efficient, you want to pay for a dialing system. So Mojo or Call Tools or Ready Mode, that's $100 a month. So if you do this a whole year, you're talking about $2,700 for the whole year. And I think you should, in some places you'll get a deal quicker. In the harder places where the deals are, where there's more money in the deals, you should get a one deal from it. So it should certainly pay for itself within a year, multiple times over. But that's the basics. That's part one, which is lead generation, lead management. Tomorrow we'll talk about sales conversion.